Good day, everyone. I'm Dr. Ayla Edsmirjan Swede Torres, and we will discuss the introduction to family and community medicine. So, family medicine is a recognized academic discipline and clinical specialty, and as such, its inclusion in the basic medical education with its own specialty. So, here in UERM, the Department of Family and Community Medicine is one of the newest departments as we were launched last 2022. Since then, our department continues to grow and help more patients. And for our objectives, by the end of this session, students should be able to define what is family medicine as a specialty and its characteristics of care, explain the family as a unit of care, define what is a family and what are the characteristics of a Filipino family, describe the family life cycle and its stages, identify and describe different family assessment tools, and analyze the impact of illness to the family. I also provided an outline for this lecture. First, we will define what is family medicine and differentiate family medicine and family practice. Next, we will discuss family as a unit of care. We will define family in different viewpoints and identify the characteristics of a Filipino family that differentiate us from other countries. We will then discuss the family life cycle, its importance, and describe different stages of family life cycle. Family assessment tools is next. We will discuss a number of family assessment tools which are very important in assessing different factors like family satisfaction, relationship, and resources. And finally, the impact of illness and its stages before we provide the conclusion. So let's start with the introduction. Family medicine, it is a discipline of medicine with distinct core knowledge and characteristics of care, which refers to individuals, family, and community, and functions within economic, cultural, and social environments and resources. The core values of family medicine include integrity, ethical behavior, compassion, nationalism, holistic approach, and commitment to lifelong learning. As family medicine physician, we aim to become a six-star physician or diamond physician, and these six roles include being a healthcare provider, researcher, manager or leader, educator, social mobilizer, and navigator. On the other hand, what is community medicine? It is a discipline concerned with the health needs and conditions of a population, plus dealing with this by population groups, using appropriate methods and interventions using the primary health care approach. So, what is the difference between the family medicine and community medicine? Community medicine focuses more on healthcare delivery system in the community. This includes health policies and programs, and these are a number of factors to be considered, like the social determinants of health, which was discussed in your previous lecture. You will have an ample time understanding community medicine during your third year. On the other hand, family medicine focuses on using patient-centered, family-focused, and community-oriented in managing patients. We use different family concepts like family APGAR, family genogram, and family scheme to further assess our patient's family and how its impact to their health. And now, we will introduce our specialty, family medicine. And what differs family medicine from other specialties are the characteristics of care that we give to our patients. Based on that, we have four: the primary, continuing, comprehensive, and prevention. Primary means we are the first contact care at the ambulatory or clinics, emergency room, and at home. We assess patients and provide primary care. Continuing means that we treat patients from all age group. We can treat children, adults, and elderly patients. Hence, we provide care from womb to tomb. This care can be provided at home, at our clinics, and at hospitals. If a patient needs further evaluation and management, we navigate and coordinate them to different specialties. Comprehensive meaning we always take into account the ecological, social, cultural, economic, and educational factors in providing the best possible care to our patients. And finally, preventive. With the full implementation of the universal health care, which put emphasis on the preventive and promotive part of health, family medicines are at the forefront of our health system. Aside from providing the appropriate medications to our patients, we always include non-pharmacological advices as discussed on your previous lecture in levels of prevention. According to Professor Ian McWeeny, one of the father of family medicine from Canada, the following are the criteria in considering family medicine as a specialty. Distinguishable body of knowledge, since our patients include all age groups, intense training is required in able to gain knowledge and skills in treating these patients. Unique field of action, since we believe that the family and community medicine are important factor in determining the overall health of our patients. And as part of our role as six-star physicians, we actively involve in different researches that will further improve the health of the community. And vigorous training is needed for we also can do minor procedures like suturing, circumcision, and incision and drainage, to name as few. But how do we differentiate family medicine from family practice? So, family medicine encompasses a distinct body of knowledge appropriate to the needs of a changing society, centered on the family as a basic social unit, and then not only disease oriented but health oriented, which emphasizes on the importance of disease prevention, health maintenance, and curative medicine. For the family practice, it is an art of how the body of knowledge is dispersed to the community and refers to care that is primary, continuing, comprehensive, preventive, curative, and referring to individuals, their family, and community relationship. Encompasses ambulatory care, home care, and appropriate hospital care. And if you want to become a family medicine specialist, there are two types of training programs that you may choose from. First is the hospital based or the traditional residency training. This is a 3-year training in which residents focus on their training in the hospital and in the community. The ARM Department of Family and Community Medicine is a traditional residency program. On the other hand, a practice-based or innovative training in which you may undergo residency training while also working outside. Due to the nature of its training, this may take longer, 1 to 2 years, compared to the traditional. I hope that this gave you a glimpse on how important family medicine specialists are and what we can do as a specialty. And next is the family as a unit of care. The 1987 Philippine Constitution have a number of articles that recognizes the importance of the family as a unit of care and its impact on the health of the community, some of which includes Article 2, Section 12. The state recognizes the sanctity of family life and shall protect and strengthen the family as a basic autonomous social institution. In Article 2, Section 15, the state shall protect and promote the right to health of the people and instill health consciousness among them. In Article 13, Section 2, the state shall adopt an integrated and comprehensive approach to health development, which shall endeavor to make essential goods, health, and other social services available to all the people at affordable cost. Family can be defined by different viewpoints, some of which include the following: the sociologic viewpoint, enduring social form in which a person is incorporated, the biologic viewpoint, genetic transmission unit, and the psychologic viewpoint, matrix of personality development, and the most intimate emotional unit of society. Many claims that Filipino family differs from other cultures. And here are the unique characteristics of a Filipino family: closely knit, bilaterally extended, strong family orientation, authority is based on seniority or age, externally patriarchal, internally matriarchal, high value on education of members, predominantly Catholic and 80% of the population, child-centered, an average number of members is 5 according to NEDA statistics, and environmental stresses, no, the economic, political, urbanization, and industrialization or urbanization health problems. After defining what family is, let's now go to the family structures. First is the nuclear family, which consists of the parents together with their still dependent children and living separately from their other relatives. The household is, in the typical case, economically independent, subsisting in the first instance, from the occupational earnings of the husband or father. Next is the extended family, which often includes three generations. They live together through kinship network and provides supports to all members. Next is the single parent. This may be included children less than 17 years of age living in a family unit with a single parent and another relative or a non-relative, and may also result from the loss of spouse by death, divorce, separation, and desertion, out of wedlock birth of a child, and from adoption, and one parent is working outside the Philippines. On the other hand, the blended family and includes the step-parents and stepchildren and caused by the divorce annulment with remarriage and separation. And next is the family life cycle. So let us define what is family life cycle. It represents composite of the individual developmental changes of family members and shows the evolution of the marital relationship and presents cyclic development of the evolving family unit. And why do we study family life cycle? It provides predictable, chronologically oriented sequence of events in family life which family physicians and other health professionals are already familiar. It involves a sequence of stressful changes that requires compensating or reciprocal readjustment by the family if it is to maintain viability, and events of family life cycle can be related to clinical events and to help maintenance of the family. So there are two levels of orders of magnitude of change. The first order changes and the second order changes. When we say first order changes, this is a need to do something new, while the second order changes a need to be something new. First order changes involves increments of mastery and adaptations, while the second order changes involve transformation of an individual's status and meaning. A good example of first order changes is when there is a change that is present when a family moves to a new resident, while the second order changes is a change that is present when a family moves into the stage of the birth of the first child. So the husband becomes the father and the wife becomes the mother as their role. So there are different models for family life cycle, but for this discussion, we will focus on the most widely used model, the six-stage cycle. The first stage is the unattached young adult. It is the start of the family life cycle wherein the unattached young adult has come to terms with the family of origin. At this stage, the young adult formulates personal goals in developing as an individual, including forming a new family. And I want to emphasize that the key principle in this cycle is accepting parent offspring separation. The next stage is the newly married couple. This is the joining of families through marriage, which is very true in our country, making Filipino families bilaterally extended. This is the transition a stage of the couple from their lives as an individual to life as a couple. The key principle here is commitment to the new system. We can also check the second order change and the first order change. For the second order change, the formation of marital system, etc. And the first order change, good example is establish home base in a place to call own, and etc. The example here. Third stage is the family with young children, with key principle of accepting new members into the system. This stage starts with pregnancy for the first child, the emergence of adolescence. The coming of children defines as a new family status as the wife becomes the mother, the husband the father. And during this stage also, the child starts going to school, which is the first significant contact with people outside of the family. And conflict with practices in the home and school regulations may occur during this stage. The fourth stage is the family with adolescent. Key principle here is the increasing flexibility of boundaries to include children independence. A family with adolescents has generally reached a stage when the parents are approaching a middle life stage and the grandparents are in the later stage. Hence, it is not only the teenagers but also their parents who are undergoing crises such as the identity at this stage. Fifth stage is the launching family. This stage begins when the first child leaves home and ends when the last child leaves home. In the Philippines, this is prolonged because unmarried children usually stay with parents. Launched children start their own family life cycle. And the key principle is accepting multitude of entries and exits into the family system. Lastly, the sixth stage is the family in later years, or the emptiness, with key principle of accepting and shifting of generational goals. This begins when departure of last child and continues through retirement of one or both of the couple and ends when both are dead. And we now go to different family assessment tools. First of these is the family genogram. This is a graphic presentation of different components of a family and provides quick overview of the family members and relationships, visual overlay the biomedical and psychosocial information, comprehensive understanding of multi-generational family system, and of course, the significant dates. And here are some of the instructions in making a family genogram. It consists of three or more generations, each identified by Roman numerals, and firstborn of each generation placed farthest to the left, with following siblings to the right in order of birth, names and ages of all family members, exact dates of birth, marriage, divorce, separation, death, information on three or more generations, illnesses, firstborn to the left with siblings sequential to the right, names of two families, and of course the informant and date constructed. Males are given the symbol square while females are circle. If a known sex diamond shape is placed, please differentiate the spontaneous and induced abortion through these symbols. Index patient is given the symbol with the arrow. If the family is already deceased, it is given a slash symbol. Dizygotic and monozygotic twins have different symbols as well as abortion. Other symbols used pertains in the marital status of a family members as well as some relationships given in this slide. And this is an example of a three generations. However, this should have a Roman numeral per generation. As you can see, the eldest is placed on the left, most, then followed chronologically by birth. Our index patient, Amy, has an arrow. Also make sure that the household members are enclosed on a broken line. Finally, it is important to include the informant address and the date the genogram is made. Next is the family map. This is designed to reflect family relationships and interaction patterns used to identify the therapeutic ally for the delivery of care in the family and identification of family members who can be partners in the decision making and medical care for the patient. We will discuss some of the symbols used as seen on the figure from the previous slide. So the rigid boundary, not open to negotiation in spite of the circumstance, and exists if couple spend little time together, have separate bedrooms, or completely separate lives, create dysfunctional family, and may lead to disengagement. A good example of this when the father is very strict and his rule cannot be bent or negotiated. Diffuse, on the other hand, exists when there is a lack of clarity and by intrusion by one subsystem into another, tend to lose their identity or become too dependent on one another, and may lead to enmeshment. A good example of this is when the child is spoiled, hence his or her relationship with his father or mother is just like friends, which could tend to lose their identity as parent's child. Next would the disengagement. This is likely the product of rigid boundary that can lead to poor and unhealthy relationship. Engagement can be a product of disengagement, as when parents have no privacy from their children, and occurs when the members are overly reactive to stress and demonstrate lack of autonomy and identity. So the double line means a good relationship, or what it is called the functional relationship, while three lines is over involvement. Another assessment tool is the family APGAR. This is the tool that qualitatively measures family functioning, and a 10 to 15-minute paper and pencil technique that elicits the patient's perception and level of satisfaction on the current state of her family members' relationship. The limitations are restricted to what the patient is willing to disclose about him or her and his or her family, and the tool measures the patient's satisfaction with his family's functioning, but not the family functioning itself. So, family APGAR is used in simple symptoms that manifest as psychosomatic disorder, such as headache, anxiety, depression, insomnia, fatigue, and increased pediatric complaints. For the difficult patient, marital sexual difficulties, multiple presentations by multiple family members, drug or alcohol abuse, evidence or physical or sexual abuse in wife or child, and multiple presentation of a family member. And here are the components of family APGAR. A for adaptation, B partnership, G growth, A affection, R resolve. And the keyword adaptation is resource. In partnership, it's decision making, growth, physical and emotional growth, affection, love and caring, while in resolve is time. In answering the family UPGAR, patient must answer the questionnaire on their own for them to be honest as much as possible. Here is the English version, and almost always given a score of 2, some of the time with 1 point, and hardly ever has a score of 0. If the total score is 8 to 19, it signifies highly functional family. 4 to 7 means moderately dysfunctional family, while 0 to 3 is interpreted as severely dysfunctional family. The Filipino version of APGAR is also available for patients who prefer to answer in Filipino. There's also the upward two. The interpretation delineates relationship with other members, identifies person who can give assistance to the patient, and indicates conflict not revealed in part 1. So here's the upward two, which focus on the relationship of the patient with other members of the family or outside the family. Next assessment tool is the SCREAM, an acronym for social, cultural, religious, economic, educational, and medical. It is an acronym that represents the family resources, a tool used to help family members identify and assess their resources to meet a crisis situation, and commonly used when the need of care is long or lasts a lifetime, such as the case of chronically or terminally ill or hospice care patient. So here's an example of SCREAM, where all the resources and pathology of the family are listed. The slide shows the social, cultural, and religious components of SCREAM, while this slide shows the resources and pathology of economic, education, and medical aspect. There's also the SCREAM REST, which is the 6-item self-administered family resources questionnaire in Filipino based on SCREAM. So we also have the general or longer with the 12-item self-administered family resources. For the brief SCREAM rest, the sum of the scores of each category is obtained and the total score is interpreted. 0 to 6, severely inadequate; 7 to 12, moderately inadequate; and 13 to 18, adequate family resources. So this is the questionnaire of a brief scheme family resources survey, or the brief scheme RES in Filipino version. And last family assessment tool is the Family Lifeline. So Family Lifeline summarizes the history of the family, particularly the individuals or family significant events or over a period of time, and also a presentation of families' life events in a limited space, which allows a quick retrieval of information that provides identification of factors that may affect health of the family, and uses in cases where long-term illness is anticipated, and in cases where the doctor needs to think family, such as abnormal behavior in a child, inappropriate behavior in the antenatal and or postpartum period, drug or alcohol abuse, and evidence of sexual or physical. So this is an example based on the history provided. So patient become hostile and angry when told she was not doing her exercises. Upon proving and using Family Lifeline, it was revealed that she was a very good volleyball player, that she even received a college scholarship for that. And due to her injury, she cannot play volleyball anymore. And this is the only happiness she received in life, despite of having family problem. So when we are interviewing patient as a 6-star physician, we need to prove and dig deep on what causes the symptom, which can be more psychosocial. We are now on the last part of our lecture, which is the impact of illness. So the impact of illness, no, the sickness of a patient causes suffering and severe disruption to his family. A particular illness sets in motion processes that are disruptive of family life and hazardous to the health of family members. The role reversal, income loss, disruption of activities, and danger of transmission. We need to differentiate disease from illness. Disease is primary biologic and psychophysiologic disorder, and this usually warrants further laboratories and appropriate pharmacologic interventions to help heal the patient. On the other hand, illness include the sufferer's experiences of the disease and the broad range of dislocations felt by both the sufferer and his family. Hence, some define illness as the condition perceived by the sick person himself or herself. Usually, patients do not need laboratories. And this is what we have previously mentioned, that disease shows laboratory evidences of the dysfunction, while illness explores the meaning of illness to the patient and the family. So there are five stages of illness trajectory. We have the stage 1, onset of illness to diagnosis, stage 2, impact phase, reaction to the diagnosis, stage 3, major therapeutic efforts, stage 4, recovery phase, early adjustment to outcome, and stage 5, adjustment to permanency of outcome. Stage 1 is the onset of illness to diagnosis. Some may seek consult to local folklore for their symptoms, which is based on their beliefs as well as their culture. So, second is the impact phase, or what we call as a reaction to diagnosis. This is the initial contact with the physician, and the physician is responsible for making a clinical judgment about the amount of information the patient and the family can absorb. There are times patient may not be satisfied with the doctor's explanation, in denial of their condition, or disagrees with the treatment plan. Hence, they often to do doctor shopping in order to hear what they want to hear or do what they want to do. During this phase, doctors have this responsibility to anticipate number of patients and help families to cope and adapt more through family conferences and discussions. Also, help the family assess the likely effect of the illness on the family, predict problems likely to arise, develop plans, and help the family understand problems as well as the benefits to be expected from family and friends, offer support, and offer alternative interpretation of proposed therapeutics bolsters families' denial and inability to accept reality. Third stage is the major therapeutic efforts. So the management or therapy represents one of the most challenging and rewarding part of medical practice. And this is also a period of great mobilization when family pursues avenues for treatment or palliation. Oh, family as a therapeutic ally. So as we can see, no, from the previous slide, a family map is a family assessment tool that helps physicians identify the therapeutic ally. This therapeutic ally allows should have a functional relationship with the patient, trusted by the patient, and understand his or her crucial role helping the patient get better. So there are a lot of factors in choosing the appropriate plan for the patient. And here's the list of its critical issues that physicians should consider and explain properly to the patient. So the psychological state and preparedness of patient and family, assumption of responsibility for care very early in the treatment, the economy, no, if they have finances, and effect of hospitalization, surgery, and other major therapeutic method are emotionally stressful to the patient's family. So the fourth is the recovery phase or the early adjustment to outcome. This is when a patient returns from the hospital or major therapy and initiates a period of gradual movement from the role of being sick to some form of recovery or adaptation. The possible outcome includes full recovery. For example, a patient who had dengue is expected a full recovery after some weeks and is ready to take over his or her duties and obligations again. Another outcome is partial recovery. For example, a stroke patient with some residual, no, with the right or left-sided weakness, improve his or her condition after a number of physical therapy sessions. And finally, and unfortunately, outcome should could be permanent disability. The fifth and the last stage of illness trajectory. is the adjustment to permanency of outcome. So the second crisis occurs as family realizes that they must accept and adjust to a permanent disability. So coping mechanism is developed during earlier stage of family adjustment. So the sick family member continued to be treated as sick. So as a physician, we can assist the patient and the family in relation to healthcare system. We need to provide quality care and aid patient and family in efficient and functional readjustment. If the cause of the permanent outcome is an acute illness, this can be lead to anger due to suddenness of illness. Family may perceive that the care of the doctor is unsatisfactory and they find it difficult to face stress. Chronic illness may also bring additional burden since this usually requires the chronic care and may affect the resources of the family, especially when limited. They may tend to overwork, which may bring resentment to the sick. And a feeling of guilt is also possible, especially if the sick member was neglected. And if the patient has terminal illness, family may experience grief, but may bring the family together. So, in summary, family functions as the source of practically everything in the individual's life, economic support, social status, religious identity, emotional bulwark, and security in old age. And the family as a unit of care is an indispensable framework in caring for our patients. It is also important to know the stage of family life cycle and impact of illness the patient is in to properly help them adjust to their new role in the family. The family assessment tools help us evaluate how different family dynamics affect the health of the patient. And these factors help us provide the holistic care that our patient needs. And with that, thank you for listening.